Okay, guys, how are you? We're going to make a quick video. I hope to make it quick. I know my videos drag a little bit. I'm going to try to make it quicker. We're going to do a quick video on the Jet receiving situation this year in our depth. And as I make this video, just got some word about Elijah Moore, possible quad injury. Don't know how serious it is. Doesn't look serious. But Saleh did say there is the possibility that he may not play this Sunday or Saturday against the Giants in the preseason game. So it's a possibility. The one guy I know a lot of us, he's probably in the top 3 of guys who are dying to watch play this week, and there's a possibility he may not play. But then again, today's Thursday, so it's possible. That's not great, but the good news is it doesn't look like it's serious. I'm going to go over and give a quick shout out to Brian Costello from the New York Post. We have to, when they call it right and they see it right, we got to give them credit. I'll try to remember to put the link in the comments section. And Brian Costello, I'm going to read, in fact, exactly the way he wrote it. Wilson's first pass in team drills Wednesday was an example. Wilson admittedly tried to fit one into Elijah Moore when he wouldn't have done it in the game. Linebacker C.J. Mosley got a hand on it. As he walked back to the huddle, he told his coaches that next time he'll throw a check down pass. But here's the quote, and I wish I was smart enough to come up with a quote like this, but this kid is a heck of a lot smarter than me. He says, "I can't be afraid to make mistakes, especially in practice," Wilson said. "This isn't a game. This is where I'm learning what I can get away with and what I can't." I mean, how perfect? Is that the perfect response? Costello then goes on. I'm not going to read it verbatim, the last paragraph here. It's a long one. But he basically goes on to say how preseason is and how practices are basically playbook. And Zach Wilson's, one of his biggest strengths is his ability that when a play breaks down, to make something still happen, to roll right and throw left, whatever it may be. And there's nothing in the playbook that calls for that. Nothing in the playbook whatsoever. So there are certain things that are Zach Wilson's strengths that we haven't seen at all. Because if a play were to ever get past what is stated in a playbook, the coach blows the whistle, the play's dead. Agreed? Agreed. We haven't seen that from Zach Wilson yet. And Mr. Costello does a wonderful job pointing that out, and that's why we're going to give him some kudos. Really a nicely written article. So real quick, we're going to go into the receivers. All I'm going to basically do is give the stats, not career stats, last year's stats. Joe Douglas is thinking. We'll talk a little bit about the depth chart, which we really don't truly know what it's going to be, and I don't think they have any idea what it's going to be right now, because there are some guys that are like on the bubble as far as playing, on playing time. I think they pretty much know who their 6 will be, and probably a couple of these guys will end up on the practice squad. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, but as it stands right now, I don't know why I wrote this here. I have a note here. These are like little notes I write to myself. When did the receiver position become home to the most arrogant football players? I mean, that's true, but I don't know why the heck I wrote that down. And then below that, I wrote Keyshawn Johnson. Maybe I was going to talk about something about why the receiver position is an amazing position, isn't it? Talk about it's just become home. It's the one position where stars, players that you would never think would be traded away from their teams, get traded. And it's usually not performance-based. Sometimes it is. A lot of the times it's performance-based because they go a little below that superstar level, and it just is not worth it anymore. There's such a damn headache in the locker room, on the field. They're the first guy to just walk up to a coach and start screaming. They'll get in their own quarterback's face and embarrass them. It's an amazing position that has really produced a lot of arrogant players. Keyshawn Johnson actually wasn't that bad when it came to that, but he was a pain in the butt. But he wasn't like that. But there are some players, I'm not going to go through all the names. You guys know who they are. We've traded For one, Santonio Holmes at one point in his career where Pittsburgh just, after the guy basically made one of the most unbelievable catches in the world to basically win a Super Bowl, he becomes available and the Jets trade for him. And I have a funny feeling that we'll never see that day with Joe Douglas. I don't care how good the guy is. I just cannot ever see Joe Douglas going out and getting a guy like that. You know, I can't. No matter how great the receiver is, I just can't see it happening. You know, unless Saleh were to walk up to him and say, listen, I can handle anybody. I still wonder if Joe Douglas would do it. I mean, it just so goes against the grain of the kind of players he brings in. I mean, last year, I think out of the 10 guys we drafted, 9 of them were captains on their team. You know, that's just the guy, you know, the kind of guys that Joe drafts. But anyway, looking at the receivers and what he did. First thing that stands out when you look at this group is that we don't have that A1, you know, superstar receiver. What we do have that a lot of teams don't have is a really solid 1 through 6. I mean, a super solid 1 through 6. I would say I would say as far as 1 through 6, one of the best 1 through 6 receiving group. When it comes 1, 2, 3, nah, definitely not. It's really solid, really good, and a lot of potential. I mean, there's a lot of potential on this roster to get a lot better. But 1 through 6, it's a really good roster. Corey Davis, we brought in, had 65 catches last year for 984 yards and 5 touchdowns. Okay, solid season by far compared to Jamison Crowder, Cole, of course, Mims, Barrios. You know, yards wise, just a hair under 1,000 yards. Really solid, good receiver. Super strong, really tough to bring down. The kind of guy that when he makes his cut, goes over the middle and starts cutting up the sideline, will take a cornerback with the ball, let's say in left hand, will take his right hand and just throw a cornerback to the ground. He's that strong. I mean, you look at the videotape, you see him do that. He's a strong dude and great hands and makes tough catches. Really good receiver, great move. Second receiver I have on the list, and I'm going by receptions right now, was Jamison Crowder. Had 59 catches for 699 yards, 6 touchdowns. Sam Darnell was his quarterback, and Adam Gase was his offensive coordinator. And people wonder why we brought back Jamison Crowder with a major pay cut. Steal. You even hear people sometimes even talk about, maybe we should trade him and everything. I totally get that. For a team that really is desperate and really needs a third receiver, let's say, you probably could do really well putting Crowder on the market. What worries me is that once you get after 4 or 5 here, and God, the receiver position is the one, it's just like pitching in baseball. You could never have enough. Once you lose 1 or 2 receivers, it's amazing how a solid, good group of receivers can become below average overnight. So I'm happy we brought him back. And I prefer we definitely hold on to him for this season and see what Cole is and see what Denzel Mims is and see what Barrios brings you. And see what Corey Davis ends up. Is Corey Davis going to just be a 65, 70 catch, 1,000-yard guy, which is great? Or is he ready maybe to hit the next level? We'll find out. Keelan Cole had 55 catches, very Jamison Crowder-like, 642 yards, 5 receptions. And even as the statistics are with Crowder, not close to really being a type of player Crowder is. Crowder is very slot, very possession-like receiver. Cole has a lot of speed and has real glue for hands. He's a real great guy to go on YouTube and put his highlights in because he has a couple of catches that are just Odell Beckham-like. I mean, in fact, one of them makes Odell Beckham's catch look easy. It's unbelievable, the one catch he makes one-handed. So he has great hands. When I first signed him, the first thing that popped in my mind is, yeah, definitely, depth at receiver. I was also thinking return man. And then you start looking at his stats, and you see the importance they put on him immediately. I mean, right from the beginning, there was some kind of connection with Zach Wilson and some kind of connection with the coaching staff. And of course, Mims was Mims and had, health issues. And Keelan Cole made a name for himself immediately here and has always been talked about as a starter. And I didn't see that when they first took him. But solid year. Again, statistically, not depth chart-wise, the next guy would be Braxton Barrios, who had a solid season. Again, 37 catches, 394 yards, 3 touchdowns. Was never considered not nearly a 1, not nearly a 2, not nearly a 3. Braxton Barrios would be the kind of guy when you see the Jets line up on a 4 or possibly 5 receiver set, and you'd see Braxton Barrios on the field. And last year, because of all the injuries and everything, came in, and that 3 touchdowns could have easily been 4. If you remember that slant, it was like an 8-yard slant pattern that Darnold threw to him. And he just took off up the field, man, and just ran out of gas at like the 2 or 3 yard line. But he, a solid player. Love having him on the team. Love that we brought him back. He's a perfect 4-5 kind of guy. And if an emergency, injuries were to pop up in a brutal way, yeah, he can fit in for a couple weeks as a 3 guy. Denzel Mims is our next guy. 23 catches, 357 yards, no touchdowns. He played 9 games. He started 8. No touchdowns. And yes, he did have the 1 2-point conversion. And, where do you start with Denzel? Just a rough year. Basically from the time he showed up at camp. The hamstring happened, I think, if I want him, I could be wrong, but I think it happened within 24 hours of practices starting. It happened immediately, and it lasted, And finally, the rumors started to spread. He's getting loose. You saw him on the bike, on the sidelines, and he's getting close. And every day Gase would be asked, and every day was the same nonsense answer. And then finally he gets on the field, and he was probably on the field no more than 24 hours, and he aggravates it. And it just runs into the season. And it just never, ever happened for him. But when he did get on the field, there were definitely glimpses. You saw signs of what a good receiver this kid could be. You got to remember, this kid came from a school where route running was not, cut and dry, black and white. There was a big learning curve that this kid had to go through. But he made certain catches last year that were fantastic. We never really got to see that breakaway speed that we know he possesses. We've seen those times. We never got to see that. But we didn't really get to see it with many Jets last year. That was just that was just the offense and our quarterback and everything else. But 23 catches, 357 yards. Big question mark going into this year. Here we go again. Food poisoning. Lost 20 pounds, Hasn't been a factor. We started to hear little rumblings about him this week, more positive things about him this week. And then I'm watching a press conference about 3 days ago, 2-3 days ago with Saleh. And Kim Jones asked a question, and she admits that she hasn't been in camp recently. And she goes, she hopes the question isn't totally out of line. She says all this ahead of time. She goes, is Mims in danger of not making the roster? I could swear that's what she said. I know that's what she said. And he looks at her and he goes, no, he's little struggles here and there, but he's fine. He's doing good. He'll be fine. He's getting better and better. You have to remember, and I think he may have gone into the whole food poisoning thing, But we'll see what we get from him. And yeah, you can't blame a person for having food poisoning. What are you going to do? Most of us have had it at one time in their life. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's not a 24, 48-hour thing, And when you're really stricken down and you're losing 20 pounds, whatever's going inside your body is bad and takes a while to recover from. and then getting that 20 pounds back. I mean, you got to get at least half of it back before you're starting to feel good enough to play this kind of sport, you know? And like I said, what can you do? You know, it's not the kind of injury that a football player usually gets. Still, the resume continues, you know, of missing time. And you got to count it. You know, if it happened last year, it was all healthy, and this year it happened real quick, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, you'd write it off. What are you going to do? But right now, it just fits into the narrative that he just misses time, you know, and at some point, it's got to end. And you hope this is it. You hope this is it, because he does have a lot of talent. He reminds me a lot of Corey Davis. A lot of Corey Davis. From speed to strength to hands. A lot of talent. We'll see what happens. Statistically, Jeff Smith is next. 17 catches, 167 yards, no touchdowns. And we'll shoot through the list here. Josh Malone had 4 catches for 16 yards, no touchdowns. Lawrence Kager had 2 catches for 35 yards, no touchdowns. Vincent Smith had 1 catch for 13 yards, no touchdowns. Lawrence Kager, 2 catches for 35 yards. Lawrence Kager is the kind of guy that will probably eventually either get to the practice squad and at some point, probably, be cut from the team. And 2-3 years from now, we're going to be sitting in our homes and putting on the highlights on a Sunday night pro football and watching the highlights of another team, and you're going to hear that Lawrence Kager had 11 catches for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, this kid has the world of talent. He is just a very talented, big receiver, fast receiver that he makes Mims, you know, look like, who's the guy? Was it Joe DiMaggio? Lou Gehrig, that played in all the games consecutively, never injured. Can't stay healthy. In fact, I think he's out hurt right now. He just can't stay healthy. And we took him, and I believe, I could be wrong, I believe his college career was the same exact thing. And the guy just can't stay healthy. When I say can't stay healthy, I mean, he can't put back-to-back weeks together. You know, so that's a shame. But like I said, 3 years from now, he's going to sign on with somebody. They're going to need a receiver. They're going to put him in. And probably the following week he'll get hurt and it'll be over. But he's possibly going to have a game like that with somebody. He's that talented. To complete the list, we have DJ Montgomery. And, of course, we have Elijah Moore. And, of course, we have no statistics for Elijah Moore because he was a rookie. And as I said in the beginning of this video, don't forget, we're waiting to find out. I don't have it on. We're waiting to find out about his thigh. Hopefully everything is okay. Possibility he may not play this week. Real quickly, I wrote down about Elijah Moore, his 2020 stats. I looked them up real quick. 8 games played last year, right? 86 receptions, 1,193 yards, 8 touchdowns, 14 carries for 64 yards. Great stats for 8 games, right? But here's the real. Now, 8 catches for 86 yards, right? So that's like 10 point whatever catches a game, right? Remember that stat. We'll get to that in a second. He did it against Florida, Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Mississippi State. That's what stuck in my head. That's a hell of a schedule to have those kind of stats. But here's another one. He had double-digit receptions in every game except the Auburn game. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Double-digit receptions, 10 or more catches in every single game against that schedule. And going back to what I said before, except for the Auburn game, right? So you have 8 games and 86 catches. In the Auburn game, I think he had 6 receptions. And you talk about consistency. This guy was catching 10, 11, 12, 11, 10, 11 every single game against Alabama, against Florida, against South Carolina. You know, I mean, this guy was putting up numbers against a really tough schedule. So are we really that surprised that originally the Jets said they would have loved to have taken him with their original first-round pick, but traded up to get Tucker at guard, traded back, had their 34th pick, their first-round pick in the second round, and never thought he was going to be around. And there they are on the end of the first draft night, 26th, 28th, 30th pick. The draft's over. All we have to do is wonder if Jacksonville will take him with the first pick, or we've got him. And Jacksonville, of course, did not take him. And the Jets, you saw their reaction when they took him. They were shocked. They were shocked. And the One Jets Drive, I love that show. If you watch their breakdown of Elijah Moore before the draft, what they felt about him, you could tell it was not bullshit. Excuse my language. No BS. They loved him. They loved him. And now he shows up here and has an outstanding spring. I mean, it's spring and summer. That's all we do is we hear about him nonstop, and we're supposed to be surprised. Again, I went way over the limit. 22 minutes. I've got to get these under 10. I promise you I will. Thanks for, if you stuck through the whole thing, bonus. That's it for now. I don't know when the next video is. I've gone through pretty much my list of all the videos I was going to do. I am going to do one on the cornerbacks. I am going to do it on the defensive line. I'm not sure, but I'll have more. There'll be more videos in the next 24 hours. Appreciate you sticking around. If you get a chance, guys, I should really say this in the beginning. Please subscribe. Please leave a like. That would be great. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very, very much. Have a great day.